Hey there, it's Mike Goldstein here with the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. And today on the show, we're going to be talking all about renovating homes and the success of one of Connecticut's very best remodeling companies, Shaw Remodeling, where they're offering a full spectrum of design and remodeling services, including carpentry and plumbing, with its principal, Colin Shaw, who also hosts Behind the Studs podcast, which is not your average show about DIY home improvements. And we're going to do all of that just after this.
Are you looking for some fresh ideas to jumpstart your kitchen remodeling business? Welcome to the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. Your host, Michael Goldstein, founder of Kitchen Remodeling SEO, the digital marketing agency working exclusively with kitchen remodeling contractors, and also the author of the Ultimate Internet Marketing Guide for Kitchen Remodeling Contractors, will provide insights on proven tips and strategies from top experts in this space so that you can take advantage of industry best practices. Your host, Michael Goldstein. Join Mike as he shares his knowledge each week with an insightful interview or educational segment about how to turn your online marketing efforts into more kitchen remodeling leads and sales opportunities than ever before.
And we're live today. We are here on the Crushing with Kitchen Remodeling podcast, and we're going to bring in with us Colin Shaw, who is the host of Behind the Studs podcast, as well as Shaw Remodeling, one of the best renovation companies in all of Connecticut. Hey, Colin, great to see you today.
Nice to see you too, Michael. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, our pleasure. So, Colin, I know that you've been around the industry for quite a while, and what our show really does is we talk a lot to people in the industry. We try and give them tips and strategies to help them grow their business, and we look at really successful companies like yourself. So it'd be great if you could just tell us a little bit about Shaw Remodeling, kind of, what's involved in it, how'd you get started, just kind of, give us a brief history.
Absolutely will. And by the way, big fan of your show. So
thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. So Shaw Remodeling actually started after the first company that I started with. And what it was I was in the hotel business, corporate America, suit and tie every day. And it was just turned out not to be for me. And it took me 18 years to figure that out. So when I decided I was getting out of that business, the head of maintenance in the hotel was like, why don't we just open up a handyman business? So I was like, all right. I used to do rough framing when I was a kid and loved it. So I said, okay, let's do it. He made it about 3 months and his wife said, go get a real job. And I said, you know what? I'm going to hold on to the company. So I took it over. That was about 16 years ago. So it was called Handyman Services of Connecticut. So I ran that for about 6-7 years and then realized that, we were getting a lot of the bigger type projects from customers that we had done work for. So I knew somebody wasn't going to just, call a handyman to do a $100,000 kitchen. So we started Shaw Remodeling, ran the two together for quite a while. And then we decided to close that side of the business because we were just getting too big on Shaw Remodeling. We didn't have the time to get to the smaller jobs. So then what we did was about 3 years ago, we realized we definitely needed to still have the handyman business because people need small stuff done. So we kept that, made it a completely separate company, did Shaw Remodeling, kept that as a separate company. And then here we are 16 years later.
Well, that's great. So many of our clients, at Kitchen Remodeling, they start off as handymen and they realize really quickly that, you can't be everything to everybody, and when you are and you're refacing, 2 cabinets, they're not going to hire you to put in, the kitchen with the Viking stove and, the beautiful shaker cabinets and the whole deal. So that's, that's really smart. So with that said, who's your target market in Connecticut? What is the ideal customer, and how did you go about targeting those folks?
So, it's changed so much, as since 16 years ago. I put an ad in the Penny Saver, which was this little tiny newspaper around, and the phone rang off the hook, and now we don't do any sort of print advertising because that's just really not where our customers are. They're online. Everything social media, the website, the Facebook, all that sort of stuff is what drives our customers to us. But yeah, we pretty much go for, I would say our average customer is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 45. in a house that's about 12 to 15 years old. And that seems to be kind of the sweet spot. So we try to focus, some of our marketing toward those individuals that seem to be the ones that are the most receptive, especially with social media, where some of our clients that are that are elderly, they don't have email addresses or anything else. So we have to kind of go back to to the mail system, which hasn't been doing all that well lately, but I'll let that go.
No doubt. And now, well, you're in Connecticut, you're in New England. I mean, I'm in New England too. We're up in the Boston area.
Right.
Do you find that, you're working a lot with kind of older, almost colonial-like homes? I mean, there's all kinds of permitting and extra things that have to be done with that, or these more newer developments, so you don't have all the history impediment in there?
Yeah, I would say 25% of our business is probably old homes, and I'm talking anything that's before 1900. We worked on homes that are in the 1700s, 1800s. Doing what I do, I'm just like a kid in the candy store when it comes to one of those type of places. I love walking around, looking at the trim and thinking about all the work that went into that, back before they had routers and, different types of tools, which, we are fortunate to have today, and we can make some really great stuff, but nothing like what they used to make. So we probably do, like I said, about 25 to 75% is the difference.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty standard. And when you go out there and and you're talking to customers, I mean, how do you position yourself in the eyes of the customers? What is that kind of unique selling position that you guys have for you that maybe some of the smaller folks don't have?
That's interesting. I would say, our professionalism starts with the very first phone call to the office. We have somebody here in our office. Her name is Megan. She answers every phone call. She is the face of the business. For the very first time somebody reaches out, we get right back to them if she's busy. So they're getting a phone call back, and she's scheduling the appointments. I show up on time. I don't blow off the estimate. So it's more, we go for more of the professional side of things, which is not necessarily popular in our business here. People don't necessarily show up for appointments. They don't ever send them an estimate. They don't answer the phone call. So we do things, more what I usually just say is business 101. It's not rocket science in my opinion, and probably all my years in the hospitality industry helped to get me to this point. But if there's a guy that's just starting out, and I can feel for you, because I did not have somebody in the office when I first started. I mean, it took me 5 or 6 years before I could finally open up the office and take that turn. And I currently don't work out in the field anymore either. I just kind of visit the guys and, meet the customers and that sort of thing, and deal directly with them. So I think it's our professionalism, and I've got trucks and vans, and they're well marked, and the guys all wear uniform shirts like the one I've got on, hats, the whole thing. Everybody that works for the company has done some form of retail type of work, whether it's hospitality, store, something along those lines. So they know how to talk to people. And I cannot tell you the number of compliments we get from our customers that just say they were so professional, they were so clean, they were so nice. And, a lot of times they don't want to necessarily leave somebody in their home when they first meet them. And by the time we're done, they're giving the passcode to the garage, to the guys, because they just trust that everybody's just, very professional and doing what they need to do.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you understand the whole concept of building a brand and making sure that people understand that this is what they're going to get, and that's one of the things that I find with a lot of people who are starting off is they're just so hungry for business that it's the shiny object syndrome, and they just whatever's new, whoever's calling today is who they pay attention to, and that's it's something that I preach to everybody is you just have to make everybody feel like they're the most important person, and just at the end of the day, just do what you say you're going to do.
Absolutely. That's all they're looking for. It's not like, again, it's not rocket science, it's business 101. So yeah, I'm on board with you.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of kind of the client base that you have, how are you going out to reach them? Because you said a little earlier that, I mean, obviously things have changed in 16 years. I mean, we used to be in a place where the yellow pages and word of mouth is all we needed. And now
Don't bring up
certainly,
the yellow pages. Don't bring up the yellow pages. I still have nightmares about that, Mike.
oh boy, yeah, don't we all? But what would you say? I mean, what would you say is, is driving the most profit, or what do you say is the most profitable marketing channel for you that's driving the best leads in right now?
Honestly, it's our website.
Yeah.
Yep. No ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, we do Facebook, and we do lots of photos, and we do Instagram. So we're definitely out there on the social media platform, but by far it's our website. We have somebody that's really, really great that does all of our marketing and the Facebook stuff and everything else, because that's still above me. I don't know all of it. I don't know how to navigate around Instagram or anything like that. But as long as I know somebody does that has our best interest in mind, then I'm good.
So I mean, it sounds like you've got a good handle on SEO and on local search, showing up in the maps, because that's one of the things that people don't grasp how important that is. And I don't know if you've seen it, but the latest stats that I've read tell me that 70% of people who are looking for home services, when they go to Google, they don't go beyond that map because they have all those great reviews and they can find what they need. And that's that's
and as you well know too, I mean, Google wants you to be extremely active too. So if you have a website, you need to be changing and updating. You need to be posting photos, blogs. There's just so many different things, that keeps you relevant with Google and keeps you up in the search as well. So you can't just put together, as you well know, a website and just throw it out there and just hope for the very best. I mean, it's just going to get buried and nobody's going to see it. So there's definitely a lot to it that I've learned over the years.
Yeah, well, no doubt. I mean, a lot of people think, listen, if I throw, $20,000, $30,000 into this beautiful site, people will come. Well, no, they won't. You got to promote it, and you've got to, engage the audience. So, with that in mind, I mean, that kind of says, a lot of traditional marketing has kind of gone out the window. We won't mention, that book over there. But other than that, I mean, what marketing efforts do you think you've stopped over, let's say, the past 5 or 10 years, just because it's not performing anymore?
It would be print, which I think everybody would say nowadays. Print. I should correct it. Shaw Remodeling, I don't do print advertising. The handyman business, I still do. We've got shoreline papers around here, where you put your business card size ad in the very back, and people just know that's where you go if you're looking for like a handyman or a plumber or something along those lines. So I have a double size ad so I stand out, and just make sure that we're still out there, that people see us, because I used to love print advertising, and when I was in the hotel business, I would try to get my boss to understand you can't put an ad out this week and then wait 3 weeks and then put another ad out. It has to be every single week, so that, because you never know when they're going to open up the page and look at it. So you want to be there. So for the handyman side, it still does work for us. Shaw side, I monitored it, I checked it, we kept the totals going, and it just wasn't worth it for Shaw. And we said that's it, for print advertising.
And that's so true too, about the consistency. I got my start in radio, and
cool.
And the whole thing there was, people are never going to go with you the first time they hear your commercial. They got to hear you 15, 20, 30 times, and then all of a sudden you become the most well-known, whatever it might be. In this case, the most well-known remodeler. And it's the same with, with anything, I think. But the one, I think, difference to that nowadays is with Google Maps and with things like that, there's the trust factor, and the fact that you're working in somebody's home, they want to know that they can trust you, that other people in the area have worked with you. So those Google reviews and the Facebook reviews and even Yelp and House reviews, things like that, are so important today.
They are.
Are there any kind of like special initiatives you use to attract online reviews from your current clients? Or, I mean, is there anything you do to get to, I don't want to use the word compel, but to help encourage those reviews?
How about beg?
Yeah, that works
Yeah.
too. With a Starbucks card, right?
Yeah. So once we know that the job is completely done and we've done the punch list and everybody's happy, we from the office here will send out an email thanking them for their business. We also still, believe it or not, do handwritten thank you notes as well. So which is kind of cool. People don't really do it anymore, and it kind of stands out a little bit. But we do send out an email, and we do give them all of the links for the different sites to go ahead and review us. So a lot of people will do that. They'll take the time, if you send it over to them, and all you have to do is just click a link, and then they can just type up your review. We get a lot more that way. So that's pretty much what we do. I mean, we had thought about offering, some sort of an incentive, maybe, a $25, well, actually today wouldn't even come close, but a $25 gas card or something that'll get you like a quarter of a tank if you're lucky. But just asking them to do the reviews was enough. So.
Yeah, you got to be so careful too with offering something, because if Google catches you doing that, I mean, it's a violation of their terms.
Is it really? I didn't know that. Interesting.
Oh yeah, you can't, because you can't buy a review, but you can. Yeah. So the other place that is so important, and you touched on this earlier, is Facebook and even YouTube to some extent, and Instagram. Do you utilize that? Do you use that to engage with the community at all?
Yeah. So again, that's pretty much on the SEO side, the marketing side. She does pretty much all of that. So there's a lot of, pictures that we post, that always seems to get you the biggest amount of, feedback from people, loving, liking, which is great. And we're fortunate enough to have, a lot of great projects that we've been able to take some really nice pictures of. So people definitely do, pay attention to that.
Yeah, I think the before and afters, especially when you put it into a video format, and you get that testimonial, 10 minutes after you finish the project with someone walking around, wow, and and look at what you've done. That really does drive a lot of quality leads, I've found.
Yeah, it's funny, we have a lot of the houses that we've done work for, beautiful homes, and you go in there and you take a before picture, and people, you post it, and the people are going, "Oh my God, that looks beautiful! You guys did a great job." It's like, no, this is what we're going to tear out. So, I get that a lot.
I've done a lot of work with people in the Stanford area, in the White Plains area, and especially around there in Greenwich. And you get that they've already dumped $100,000 into something 10 years ago, but it's outdated right now.
Yeah, we're like, the white Carrara marble is only a 6x6. We want 12x24s. It's like, all right, let's just rip the whole thing down then.
No doubt. So when you're looking at some of those people though that do want to kind of remodel, and they maybe they came to you when you had the handyman business, or when you started Shaw out, what do you do to kind of reach out to those to the older clients? Like, do you do any kind of like database reactivation campaigns, or any kind of nurturing of past clients?
We really don't, to be honest with you. We used to do like email blasts and things like that, and people seem to want to reach out to us when they're ready to have something done. They're not the type of work that we do. It's not like I can force them to do a project by reaching out to them and saying, "Hey, you need to do your project right now, because now's the time." But so most people just when they need something, they reach out, and fortunately enough, they call us back. So.
Sure. Yeah. So you're really not using email marketing right now, and I mean, granted, you're not an emergency plumber. You're not in the service where it's, my gosh, I mean, I either call somebody now or the house gets flooded. So it is, there's a big difference between a $300 fix and a $30,000 bathroom, no doubt.
Exactly.
But what about when you do have leads come in, and when I say leads, people who they're not really ready yet. They say, well, we'd really like to learn more. We're interviewing. I love that question. We're interviewing people. What type of lead nurturing campaigns or anything do you use email at that level, or what do you do with them?
So basically, I'm not a hard salesman. Just talking to me here, this is pretty much how I am with customers as well. And I've told people too. I've talked to customers for 2 years before they finally decided to do their project. It's whenever they're ready, whenever they feel comfortable. I highly recommend that everybody gets 3 quotes. Meet some other people. You're gonna. It's not just about the price at that point too. When it's a big project like that, it's about how do you get along. Do you think you guys can communicate? So for us, communication is huge. If they email me, I'm emailing them right back. If they email the office, we're emailing them right back. If they want to talk and they want to discuss, some of the materials that they picked out, we're happy to help them. We also have really good relationships set up with the different lumber yards and stuff, so we can get the customers to go there, meet with the rep that we want them to meet with. They help hold their hand right on through the process as well. So it's kind of like a fun time as opposed to a stressful time. We want them to just go around and meet people and talk and pick things out and go to house and look at different pictures if you want, and share the idea book with us. So most people look at it as fun. You obviously know this too, that you do also have some customers who know exactly what they want, and there is no discussions on anything. So that's fine too. I tell them, this is your house. This is probably the biggest asset you own. So whatever you want us to do, we'll do.
Yeah, it's just about building that rapport,
It is.
and making somebody feel comfortable with you. And I think when you're talking about that, especially coming out of COVID and all of that, where people are really nervous about who's in their home and how many people are going to be there, and all of that, that just the comfort level, I think, is one of the biggest selling points.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, and COVID was an interesting time. We're obviously very fortunate to be doing what we're doing during the pandemic because we were busy. I just happened I didn't own a restaurant or a bar. Those poor people, it was a tough time. But yeah, so for us during COVID, definitely the handyman side was really, really busy because people are sitting home and they're seeing that crack in the in the drywall and all these other things that just are driving them crazy. So we definitely felt an uptick from that.
But I would say not something that we're not trying to take advantage and saying, well, this is a great time. But at the same point, I think you always look at the environment that you're in, and there's always going to be opportunity, no matter what the environment is. You just need to find it.
That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah. So with that said, let me ask you, I mean, you've been doing this for 16 years. You're fairly successful. You've got 2 companies going. What would your advice be to a kitchen remodeler or to even just a handyman who's just getting started now and they want to, or even someone's been around, but they want to take their business to that next level?
It's finding good guys. That's really what it comes down to, finding a good crew. I've been very fortunate. We try to keep our guys for as long as we possibly can before they want to, they look at it and see it's so glamorous to run your own company that they want to go out and do it themselves. And I've had quite a few come back really quick. So getting good guys. And one thing that I learned too is you have to be healthy as an individual. You have to have a healthy mind. So what I do now is I do not give my cell number out to customers. I just don't do it. They can call the office and the office can get in touch with me and I'd be happy to call them back. I shut off all my notifications as of 7:00 at night. I don't need to talk to a homeowner at 9, 10, 11 at night or on a Sunday afternoon. So take time for yourself. Those calls will be there in the morning when you wake up. Those emails will be there in the morning when you wake up. You don't have to do it right away. All you're doing is just creating more frantic type of a situation, I feel, with your customer, where there's no boundaries, there's no way to kind of move forward through this process other than they have to respect the fact that you're not there 24/7. It's just, you don't need to be. So take it easy on yourself.
That's great advice. I mean, I think one of the toughest things for someone getting started is they're so afraid to lose a customer that they don't want, they'll bend over backwards. And, when they get that call at 10:00 at night, they'll actually pick it up. And, and it's tough, and I get it. I was there at one point. We were all there at one point, but it's good advice is you've got to take time for yourself because you'll burn out.
Absolutely. And yeah. I mean, take time for yourself. Absolutely. For sure.
No doubt. So Colin, one of the things that you are doing in addition to running Shaw, in addition to running the Handyman, is you got the Behind the Studs podcast. So talk a little bit about that for a minute. What's that all about? The DIY piece of it, and give us a lowdown.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. As you know, doing a podcast is a lot of fun. You're stressing out all week long, and then you get to be goofy and have some fun for half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is. So we started it just about 4 years ago. So we've been running it for a while now. It's a home remodeling podcast. We do a lot for the DIYs. We also try to help educate the homeowners, and then there's a little bit of fun for the contractors too, who can relate to some of our stories. So I don't know if you're familiar with the program that was called Car Talk, which is on.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty much what everybody likens us to. We're kind of like the Car Talk of home remodeling. And it's funny, I never even heard of Car Talk before we started this. So it wasn't like we tried to copy them or anything else. But what most people will say is, we listened, we enjoyed it, and we actually learned something at the same time. So, my co-host, Jimmy Driscoll, is a crazy man, extremely funny, has a story for everything. So when I was first asked to do the podcast, I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And then they're like, well, come on, it'll be fun. And I'm like, all right, I'll listen to some podcasts. And I listened to a couple of home remodeling podcasts. They were either overproduced or they just weren't fun to listen to. So I was like, no, I said, I don't want to listen to myself talk for a half hour, let alone anybody else is going to listen to me talk. So I ended up with my buddy, Jimmy. Him and I have been friends for about 35 years. He's also in the industry. Just actually recently came back to work for me not too long ago. And I said, if he can do it, I'm on board. And we just have a lot of fun. We get some great guests, the local guys all the way to the HGTV stars. So we've been very, very fortunate, lots of advertising coming up now, which is kind of nice. We've paid our dues. And so we're just having a blast with it, though. And I appreciate you mentioning the show.
One thing I really love about your show and just the whole premise of it is the helping the DIY folk out, because there's a lot of contractors, there's a lot of remodeling companies who they want to have a podcast, and what they're doing is they're just self-promoting. They're selling their services all day long, and you're not doing that. You're not selling Shaw. You're not selling the Handyman. You're actually giving tips and strategies. What happens when this or that happens, and how can you fix it? And that's great. You're giving back to people who either maybe, they're not in a financial position, and maybe they can't afford to hire someone, and they don't have any choice but to do it themselves.
Sure, absolutely.
That's what made YouTube what it is today, right?
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And of course, we were voted number 2 home remodeling podcast by AARP. So there you go.
That's fantastic. Well, I really appreciate everything that you've done. Kind of when we get to the end of one of our podcasts, we always ask one thing, which is, are there any extra, wisdom or bits, nuggets of wisdom, I should say, that you want to drop on the kitchen remodeling people out there, or the home improvement folks that maybe we haven't touched on? Something that you've learned in your 16 years that you just don't get until you've been through it.
Right. So when it comes to a kitchen remodel, what I usually have a conversation with everybody is the very first question I ask them is, how long are you going to live here? If they say under 5 years, then we have a completely different conversation. If they say we're going to die in this house, we have another conversation. So basically, if it's going to be less than 5 years, you don't want to go trendy. You want to just do classic, something that people are liking right now. It's a very, very personal thing to do a kitchen or a bath. So you don't want to do it for yourself if you're not going to be around to enjoy it, because somebody else will have to look at it when they come in and say, I got to rip all this out, and now it's going to cost a fortune. So stay away from trendy if you're going to get out soon. But if you're going to be there forever, I encourage everybody to get exactly what they like, because they're going to get 20, 30 years of enjoyment out of it. So if they say, what about this light fixture? Well, I may not want it for my home, but if you guys like it, let's do it. Make this space yours and reflect you. And I love getting those conversations from previous customers, that if I bump into them at the store or whatever else, they, like, oh my God, I still love my kitchen. It's so much fun. It's great. It's great. It's great. So that always makes me feel good that, they made the right decision for them. We helped them make the right decision, and hopefully get them the kitchen that they really, really love.
No, That's really great advice. I think, that's something that people should take to heart, because it's not just about selling what you can do. It's about selling what somebody wants and what they need to live with.
Right.
moving
Absolutely.
forward.
Yeah.
So,
And as contractors out there too,
yeah.
we always have this conversation. When you're out at the local store and you get a tap on your shoulder, you want to turn around and have a hand reached out to shake your hand and not somebody to punch you in the face. So
No doubt.
be above board, be legit. Don't try to take advantage of people, because it will get around. I'm sure if you live in big cities, maybe not as much. I come from small towns here on the Connecticut coast. Everybody knows everybody. You don't know who you're talking to. So just do the right thing.
No, absolutely. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time. For anybody who wants to get a hold of you, whether they want to talk to you about Shaw, whether they want to talk about the handyman, even they want to find out more about the show, how do they get in touch with you?
Sure. So just visit our website. It's shawremodeling.com, SHAW remodeling.com. Or you can call the office and talk to Megan, 860-434-2004. Or reach out to us on any of the other platforms like Facebook, Instagram. Be happy to have a conversation with anybody. If they have any questions, be happy to answer them as best I can.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was great having you on the show. For those of you who are out there, listening today, watching on YouTube Live, if you're in the Connecticut area and you're looking for some kind of remodeling help, renovation help, whatever it might be, Shaw, give Shaw Remodeling a call. I'm sure they can help you out. So this is Michael Goldstein with Colin Shaw. Thank you for listening so much. Hope everyone has a great day, and we will see you soon.